hot take season. We are just a few more days away from opening day. It is March 25th, and we're going to give you guys my top 5 hottest takes for the 2025 Yankees. Now, if you remember last year's list, I went 1 for 5. I had Luis Seal striking out over 150 batters as my correct take out of 5. Had a couple of near misses. Stan hit 27 home runs. I said he'd hit over 35. He played 112 games roughly, so if he was a little bit healthier, I think I would have hit that margin. I had Clark Schmidt as the Yankees' best pitcher. In terms of ERA, he was, but he didn't have enough volume, so injuries kind of caused me to miss there. Austin Wells making the All-Star game, that didn't hit because his really strong half came in the second half, not the first half. He may have actually made it if he reversed his splits. And then Gleyber Torres winning AL Silver Slugger, yeah, that was just a miss. That was the one where I just straight up missed. There is really no excuse there. There is, I think, good takes in there, takes that actually hit. And I'll take a 1 for 5. That's 20%. If you look at what's a hot take, like the 20th percentile outcome is probably, or an 80th percentile outcome is probably considered, a hot take. Like if you think that's going to happen. So I'll take it. If I get 2 right this year, that's 40% of my 5. Like, I'll take that as well. So the goal is to at least get 1 right. I don't want to go 0 for 5. That's really it. I really just don't want to go 0 for 5. So we'll see how these age. We'll see how these end up panning out. But before we get into everything, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to check out Fireside Yankees on all of your favorite social media platforms. And, of course, drop your hottest takes for the New York Yankees. I want some spicy stuff in the comment section below for this 2025 team. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. Starting things at number 1, we have Carlos Rodon posting a sub-3.7 ERA in 2025. Now, Carlos Rodon last year had a very bumpy year. He gets off to a really strong start in the ERA department, has one of the worst stretches I've ever seen for a pitcher, and then finishes their year really strong. In the second half, he had a sub-3.5 ERA. He struck out roughly 30% of batters faced. I was very encouraged with what he did in that second half, and all signs have indicated that he has learned from that second half to be more of a smarter pitcher, to mix up his arsenal more and include that changeup. And that changeup's the key here. That pitch is one of the best in that pitch category in the entire sport. He gets tons of vertical drop on it, good lateral movement as well. It plays really well off of the fastball, and thus far in spring training, we're seeing a reduced usage of four-seam fastballs with an increased usage of his secondaries. He also mixed in a few sinkers on a couple of his outings, so I'm intrigued to see if that's a pitch that's just a show pitch or if that's something he starts leaning on throughout the regular season. I have a lot of confidence that Carlos Rodon is capable of being a pretty good pitcher at the big league level still because his secondaries are so good. Yes, his fastball's regressed. Yes, I have concerns about the home runs. Yes, he's a high volatile pitcher. Yes, he can be the worst pitcher on any given day, but the upside is still there. We saw a prolonged stretch of success using his changeup a lot and not leaning on his fastball, and I think a smarter version of Carlos Rodon, one who is going to mix up his arsenal, one who's going to vary his looks, especially against right-handed batters, is one that can have a ton of success on the mound. I'm a believer in strikeouts. I am a believer that if you have a lot of strikeouts and you don't walk a lot of guys, that you should have a good amount of success as a starting pitcher, and Carlos Rodon does both of those things. So for that reason, I think he's going to have a lot of success in 2025, and if we compare it to a lot of projection systems, they're a lot more optimistic than I think most people would believe them to be. Steamer has him at a 3.97, Zips at a 4.04. Those are decent median outcomes considering last year at a 3.96. A lot of them just expect him to repeat last year. And so that 3.7 or that sub 3.7 ERA, while definitely better than those projections believe, is a number that's not really out of the ball. Like it's not really out of the realm of possibility. This might be considered one of the least hot takes on this list because of just kind of how it stacks up compared to others in terms of likelihood. And then again, like just looking at what he did last year, I just believe that mixing up your pitches is a recipe for success. I'm not going to give myself a win if he pitches in 30 innings. I'll give myself a win if he pitches in at least 100 innings this season in order for this to be considered a win for me. So he has to pitch 100 innings, and I think it'll be sub 3.7. And I think he'll establish himself as a number 2, number 3 starter, and kind of keep this rotation afloat, which they desperately need because Garrett Cole's out for the whole year and Luis Seal's out for half the year. And I don't know how Luis Seal's going to look post-shoulder injury, and I don't know what Stroman, Carrasco, and Warren are going to do. So, yeah, Carlos Rodon, sub 3.7 ERA, a little bit of hope, little bit of information, a little bit of just like, I think it's there, and we are just 2 years removed from him being the NL leader in Fangraphs wins above replacement. So that's the first hot take. Let's move on to the next one. Our second one is that Leiter Jr. is a top 25 reliever in baseball this year. Now, if you've paid attention to spring training, which I understand if you haven't, spring training can get very boring very quickly. Leiter Jr.'s velocity is up. He has looked really strong in spring, and I think a product of that has to do with just, again, that velocity spike. Throwing harder is a good thing, and last year, Leiter Jr. was 11th in strikeout to walk percentage among qualified relievers. Now, I do think he's going to have struggles with allowing the long ball by virtue of just not throwing very hard. Even his hardest is still like 94 to 94.5 miles an hour. He's going to sit around 92.5 to maybe 93 miles an hour on that sinker. But that splitter is also being thrown harder, and he just looks gross right now. Like, I really do believe in Leiter Jr. I think the ability to get swings and misses is extremely valuable, as we talked about with Carlos Rodon. And projections are actually on my side with this one. They think he's a lot closer to that top 20, top 25 mark than most people think. I think his second half slump with the Yankees last year was a product of just not having his best stuff. And now that his stuff is up, now the Yankees are getting him to sit 93 and top out at 94.5, that he's going to have a ton of success. Again, that splitter is absolutely gross. He has ripped through hitters throughout spring training. No one has really been able to touch him. If you look at his spring outings, he's appeared in 4 games. He has struck out 50% of batters faced with no walks. Really small sample size. Don't care about small sample sizes that much, but the results with the spike in velocity are kind of indicators to me that, like, oh yeah, this guy can be really good this year. I also think that we're going to see the biggest improvements come in a reduction in home run per 9 rate. It was a 1.24 last year. He has a career 1.48. I think that number is going to sit around 1 flat, and if you can get it below 1, that'd be great. And now, what does top 25 reliever also mean? I think that's important to quantify here. I think he'll be top 25 in ERA and win probability added. So those 2 metrics, I'll throw FIP in there as well. I almost care more about the FIP than the ERA here, so I'll say WAR and win probability added, because those are kind of the 2 easy ways to measure value for a pitcher. He has to be top 25 in both. Can't be one or the other. I'll give myself an exception with WAR, because if he's like 30th and then like 5th in win probability added, I'll give myself the win. We'll let the comment section decide that one. But yeah, Leiter Jr., top 25 reliever, ends up being a top 3 reliever on this team. Like, he's going to be someone who Yankee fans look at and go, thank God we traded for him. Thank God we stuck through the struggles of Leiter Jr. not being very good last year. And he's going to deliver a big year in which he is one of the most important pieces to a bullpen that's decimated with injuries right now. I mean, they're seriously cooked with injuries right now. So they're going to need Leiter Jr. to step up, and I firmly believe he will. Moving on to our third pick here, we have Austin Wells leading all catchers in Fangraphs WAR. Now, I mentioned Fangraphs WAR because Fangraphs uses framing data. Baseball Reference really doesn't. So framing does matter a lot. Framing matters as much as Fangraphs kind of has it as, whereas Baseball Reference completely undervalues framing. So I kind of don't care for it for catcher WAR. Now, look, here's the thing with Austin Wells. Spring training has been really positive for him. His bat speed is north of 75 miles per hour on average compared to last year, where it was around the 72 to 73 mile per hour range. He's hitting the absolute piss out of the ball. His average exit velocity is up. His 90th percentile exit velocity is up. The 2 hardest hit balls of his pro career have come in this past spring training. And I think all of the signs are pointing towards an Austin Wells breakout. I've heard a lot of really good things from the organization regarding his defense as well. We know he's already an elite defender, but there have been continued strides in that department. I think we're going to be talking about someone who contends for the AL Gold Glove, at least finishes as a finalist, has a 115 WRC plus, hits about 20 to 25 home runs, and I think that's going to be good enough for him to be the best catcher in the sport. The guys he's going to have to contend with are really, really good. You have William Contreras on the Brewers. You have Cal Raleigh on the Mariners. Those are the two guys that come to mind. Adley Rutschman in his own division is a very, very good candidate for this as well. But I think he has a defensive edge over two of those guys. He's a far better defender than Rutschman, a far better defender than Contreras. And the only question is his bat going to match up with Contreras's, or is it going to be close enough to where that defensive gap kind of takes him over the edge? Those are guys who could put up 5 WAR seasons, and I'm basically sitting here and telling you Austin Wells might also do that. So I'm a big Austin Wells guy. Last year I had him making the All-Star team. He makes my hot takes list again because I didn't hit on that one, but I think I was a year early. I think it was a year early, and I think I was kind of a half season early. Austin Wells was really bad in the first half, really good in the second half. And then this spring, we see him continue to make adjustments, continue to make improvements in the raw power department, and he's also made improvements against left-handed pitching, and that's going to help him a lot as well. He's going to get some DH reps. Last year, he didn't start a single game as a DH. That limited his games played, whereas guys like Adley and William Contreras and Cal Raleigh played a ton of, because they played some DH as well. I think the Yankees are going to be forced to play Wells at DH for certain games. They're not going to be able to be comfortable removing that bat from the lineup consistently. I don't think this is a platoon situation again. The lack of a right-handed backup catcher is an indication of that. I think he'll get DH reps against left-handed pitching as well. I think he'll catch against left-handed pitching on occasion. This is someone who I think will play closer to 130 or 140 games in 2025 if healthy, compared to the 110 to 120 we saw last season as he split time with Jose Trevino to start the year. And of course, Trevino actually made sense as a platoon partner because Trevino can actually hit lefties, whereas the two guys who would kind of be in competition for his reps, Ben Rice and JC Escara, are noticeably worse against left-handed pitching. Wells has hit lefties well this spring, OPS over 1,000 against them, or I think OPS over 1.7 against them this spring. He had a home run off of Tyler Holton. Tyler Holton's one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball, so doesn't matter. We'll see. Too small of a sample size to conclude on anything, but if you can hit lefties even a little bit, like if you can hit, I don't know, at a 90 WRC plus rate against lefties, yeah, he's going to be maybe like a 120 WRC plus hitter this year. Like last year, he was really bad against lefties. This year, can he be like close to average or maybe even average? That's a game changer there. I think that's where we'll see some of the biggest offensive improvements. And then again, defensively, I think he'll be as good, if not maybe a little bit better than he was last season. So Austin Wells, he is going to lead all catchers, not AL, in WAR. And we'll see if that results in an All-Star game. I can't guarantee that one. All-Star games, that's first half stuff. I don't know if he's going to get it. It's also a position where like Adley has a lot of cachet, Raleigh has a lot of cachet, but Austin Wells is a Yankee, so I just didn't want to go with the All-Star take one again. I wanted to throw Austin Wells in here. I think he's going to have a big year. This is the best way to kind of do it in a bold take video. So yeah, best catcher in baseball, Austin Wells, baby. Moving on to our fourth hot take, and this is a team take. I didn't have any team takes last year. I had all player-centric ones. Felt like that was a miss. This year, I'm not missing out on that opportunity. The Yankees are going to be one of the 5 best base-running teams in baseball this season. Last year, the Yankees had their worst base-running season since integration. Oh my God, they were bad on the bases. But here's kind of the caveat for this offseason and even some of their injuries. Their 6 worst base runners have either left the team or will start the season on the IL and are TBD on if they're coming back or not. DJ LeMahieu, I have no clue if he'll ever play another game for the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton, I have no clue if he'll ever play another game for the Yankees. Although Stanton, I'm a little more optimistic because if he's healthy, I think he will get brought back to the team. If LeMahieu's healthy, I'm not entirely sure the Yankees are going to bring him back. So there's that. As it pertains to the base running side of things, a full season of Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Volpe continuing to be a dominant base runner, having Jason Dominguez there, who is a very aggressive base runner and a good base runner. That's going to be a big difference. The reduction of just brutally bad base runners on the roster, I think, will make a pretty significant difference as well. The Yankees had some of the worst base runners in all of baseball last year play for them, and that clearly made a difference. I mean, I think it made a large impact on their inability to run the bases last year. If you look at base running runs, which is what we're going to measure the Yankees by for this take, BSR is the shortened version of it. The Yankees had 2 of the 9 worst base runners in baseball, and Gleyber Torres, and Gleyber was their worst base runner at negative 4.6 BSR, and Giancarlo Stanton at negative 4.3 BSR. Then you look at Juan Soto, he was 14th, although I would prefer to just have Juan Soto. You have Anthony Rizzo at negative 2.8, he was 41st. So if you look at bottom 50, you have 4 different Yankees, or the bottom 40, excuse me. Yeah, you have 4 different Yankees. That's bad. That's really, really, really bad. And Rizzo managed to have a negative 2.8 while playing in just 92 games. Stanton managed to be the 9th worst while not playing a full season. BSR is a cumulative metric, so the more you play, the larger that number will be in either direction. Verdugo was also a bad base runner, negative 2.5 BSR. And then obviously DJ LeMahieu, negative 2.2 BSR, notably only played in 67 games. So the Yankees are losing a lot of their really, really, really bad base runners. All 6 of those guys who were bottom 70 in base running runs amongst a 365 player sample are not going to open the year with the team. So I think that will result in the Yankees being a much better base running team. Zips projects them to be one of the 5 best base running teams in terms of stolen bases or team stolen bases. I think that number is a little aggressive, which is why I have him at 5. Also, stolen bases as an equal base running. Ground balls and double plays, like if you hit into a double play, that hurts your BSR. I think that has to factor into this. I do still think the Yankees will hit into double plays. Paul Goldschmidt is still slow, but Goldschmidt notably is slow, but isn't a horrendous base runner. He's like league average on the bases. If you look at Paul Goldschmidt last year, I believe he was like a negative 0.5 BSR or something like that. Like he was notably like just mediocre on the bases, which I'll take. You know, I'll take a mediocre base runner at first base. That's a massive improvement over Rizzo. I think Cabrera will be a better base runner than he was last year. He was a negative 0.5. I doubt he is that bad of a base runner again. And then I believe in guys like Judge to not be complete net negatives. Bellinger's a pretty good base runner. I forgot to mention him as well. So, yeah, the Yankees will be better on the bases in 2025 by a very, very large margin. And then my final hot take. Cody Bellinger is going to start in the American League All-Star Game. Now, this is a tough one to do. This is tough because there are a lot of really good outfielders in the American League who had better years than Cody Bellinger did last year. You have Julio Rodriguez, who is probably going to be the guy you expect to start in center field. You have Jarren Duran, who had a 9-WAR season on Baseball Reference and a 7-WAR season on Fangraphs. Those are 2 of the top competitors I can think of off the top of my head. Colton Cowser had a really good year in the outfield. He had a higher WAR than Cody Bellinger did. That's obviously going to play a role in part of this decision making. I know Stephen Kwan is also someone who could absolutely have an MVP caliber year, and he is a better player than Cody Bellinger is. You have Yordan Alvarez. Kyle Tucker is now out of the American League, which helps. Riley Green, Byron Buxton, Dalton Varsho, Lawrence Butler, Willie Abreu even. These are guys who all have really good chances of making the AL All-Star game and could kind of have pop years, but I think it'll be Cody Bellinger. Now, Cody Bellinger has had a really encouraging spring training. Bellinger's hit the ball a lot harder. His exit velocity is up. His 90th percentile exit velocity is also up. And he reset a max exit velo that he has a mark he hasn't hit since 2020 in spring training thus far. So I'm currently really impressed by what Cody Bellinger has done throughout spring, and it's not really the results. Again, it's the exit velocity. He's hitting the ball harder. He's made adjustments to hit the ball harder, and if he's hitting the ball hard at a ballpark like Yankee Stadium that fits his bat so well, he could hit 30 home runs this year. The other key part of this take that matters is that Cody Bellinger does not have to have one of the 3 best outfield seasons in the American League to have this take come true. I'm betting a little bit on some luck here that Cody Bellinger has a good first half and a really strong first half, and that Julio Rodriguez is his typical bad first half, and that the Yankees, that their all-star voting thing kind of works in their favor because they're the Yankees, et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of see where the wheels are spinning here. Bellinger doesn't actually have to be the 3rd best outfield in the American League or the 2nd best outfield in the American League in 2025 to be an all-star game starter. So with that in mind, I think this is actually an avenue where he could get onto the all-star team and start. He is a good defensive center fielder. The fact he can play center, left, and right also allows him to be someone who can be voted in at any spot. All they do, they just kind of vote 3 outfielders. They don't really care what your position is. I also think it's important to note when it comes to Cody Bellinger that last year he would have hit 24 home runs if he just played all of his home games at Yankee Stadium. So can Cody Bellinger hit 25 and be 26? I mean, maybe with those exit velocity gains, can that number be closer to 30? It could be. Could that WRC plus be close to like a 130 mark? Again, it could be. And he's a positive base runner, and he's a positive defender at a premium position. He could actually have a 4 to 4.5 WAR year. And 4.5 WAR would place him behind Judge, Soto, and Durant amongst guys who are voted in as outfielders. I believe Alvarez was voted as the DH last year for the Astros, and considering Altuve's playing left field this year, I would assume that if Yordan Alvarez was eligible to be voted on, which he will be, he'd be voted as a DH. So Soto's out of the AL, so that removes one guy, and then you have Aaron Judge and Jarren Duran there, who were above 4.5 WAR. So that feels like it's on the table. Is it a likely outcome? No. Again, Riley Green, Steven Kwan, Jarren Duran, Julio Rodriguez, those kinds of guys all are likelier options to start. But this is a hot take video, and I think this hot take just kind of works. I don't know. The vibes are there. Cody Bellinger's aura is going to knock people over. The pitcher's going to fall off the mound while they're delivering the ball.
I'm passing the phone for someone who has insane aura.
Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in and checking out Fireside Yankees. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We really appreciate you guys, again, tuning in, checking our stuff out. We have an Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and, of course, this YouTube page. And you can check out my written work and other people's written work regarding the Yankees and all of your favorite New York sports teams on EmpireSportsMedia.com. We'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go Yankees. Peace out, everybody. Love you all.
Perfect.